When somebody says that a mass media message has had some kind of effect on them, it's important to determine what kind of effect occurred. And one way of doing this is to classify the dimensions of media effects, that any kind of media effect can be classified as different ways. So let's take an example here where we have a message. So we have a date and time of the message. Say on January 20th, 2019 at 11:13 p.m. I was using Instagram and a message for Fashion Nova popped up. So there's our message. It was advertising. And what kind of effect occurred? It could have been a lot of different effects. It could have been, it made me think about clothes. That would be a cognitive effect. It could have been, oh, it made me feel excited to see what was going on. Feelings, that's affective. Affective, affective. Or it could have been behavioral, meaning that it caused me to actually take some kind of an action. So I have to think about that when I say what kind of effect occurred, because a lot of them are occurring at the same time. So what I wrote was, I clicked on the link and looked at the clothes. Actually, this is like two effects, right? I clicked and I looked. But both of them are actions, so they're both behaviors. So I had this message, I had this behavioral effect that it had on me, in addition to all the other ones that I didn't mention. So, as I'm getting ready to examine this effect, let's talk about that one effect. Did it change or alter my behavior or reinforce what I was already doing? So I look at my effect. Was I already clicking? Was I already looking at the clothes? No. So it changed my behavior. In this case, I can say, okay, it changed my behavior. Next, I can say, was it a cognitive, affective, or behavioral effect? Well, we've already said this particular one that I listed was behavioral. Even though the other ones also occurred, the one that I actually listed here was behavioral. Was this intended or unintended by the producer? So the person who produced the ad wanted me to click on it, so it was an intended effect. Even though I didn't intend to go looking for fashion clothes, I was probably just seeing what my friends were up to on Instagram. It's from the producer's perspective. They intended me to click on that. Okay, long-term versus short-term. Is this effect going to be still occurring, say, weeks from now, months from now, years from now? No, I'm not still clicking. I'm not even clicking now. I'm not even looking at the clothes right now. It was a short-term effect. And again, it could have long-term consequences. Maybe I bought clothes that I'm going to have for a long time, but that's not the effect that I wrote. I clicked and I looked. So those specific effects were short-term. Okay, was it the content or the form? Was it the fact that it was a pop-up ad? The form, was it the fact that it was blocking my view or bright? Not really. It was the fact that it was about Fashion Nova, that it was about clothes. And so that it was the message, not the way that it was presented, that caused me to go look at the site. Although it was probably a bit of the form as well. You could make an argument either way, but in this case, I'm going to say it was the content. It was the fact that it was fashion clothes. Maybe there was a cool picture of clothes that I was interested in. It was the content, not the fact that of how it was presented. Okay, was this a micro or individual effect or a macro or societal effect? In other words, does this effect occur in me as an individual, or did it change society in some way? This obviously was a micro individual effect. And even if 500,000 people all saw the ad and they all clicked, that's all occurring within each individual. This is some kind of a psychological effect. It isn't actually changing the society in some way. Now, if I had wrote the effect is that it boosted the United States economy, then that would have been a societal effect. But that's not what I wrote. I clicked. I did something as an individual. Then the final thing is, was it a cumulative or non-cumulative effect? And the question here is, how many times did I have to see the message before the effect occurred? Now what I wrote was, I saw this message at 11:13 p.m. and I clicked on the ad. And so I could say that it was the very first time that I saw the message, and so it was a non-cumulative effect. If I wanted to say it was a cumulative effect, then I would probably want to make a note saying this was the 5th time I saw the ad, and finally by the 5th time I was curious enough to click on it. Then I could say it was accumulative. But the question is, how many times did I have to see the ad before the effect occurred? I just realized that I accidentally highlighted reinforcement up there as well, so I'm going to go back and undo this. So that's how you can go back, and now that you've classified the effect, you can start putting together some designs of experimental designs to see how exactly would I measure this? How would I see if this effect was occurring with other people with some kind of consistency?